Before the sewing machine came along, making clothes was a tough, slow job. Think about every single stitch in your shirt. Now imagine someone doing that all by hand with just a needle and thread. It took forever. A single shirt could take a whole day to sew, a dress could take weeks. This work was often done by women, hunched over in dim light, their fingers getting sore and calloused. They worked for long hours for very little pay just to put clothes on their families' backs or to sell for a meager living. It was a necessary skill, but it was also a real grind, a job that never seemed to end. This wasn't just about making new clothes either. Mending and repairing was a constant chore. With clothes being so expensive and time-consuming to make, you didn't just throw something away because it had a hole. You patched it. You darned socks. You let out seams for growing kids. Every household had a sewing basket and it was always in use. The amount of labor that went into clothing was immense. People owned far fewer outfits than we do today because each one represented a significant investment of time and effort. It was a world of make, do, and mend, where every thread counted. Let's put this in perspective. Professional tailors and seamstresses were skilled artisans, of course. But for the average person, sewing was a fundamental part of daily life, a chore as common as cooking or cleaning. The demand for clothing was always growing, especially in bustling cities, but the supply was limited by how fast human hands could work. This created a bottleneck. Factory-made fabric was becoming more available, but turning that fabric into finished garments was still a slow, manual process. Someone had to figure out a way to make the needle move faster, a lot faster. The idea of a machine that could sew wasn't just a dream of convenience. It was a potential solution to a very real problem. People were looking for a way to speed up this essential but backbreaking work. They needed a machine that could do the job of 10 pairs of hands without getting tired or needing a break. The stage was set for a revolution. A mechanical solution was needed to break the slow, painstaking rhythm of the handheld needle. The world was ready for an invention that would change how we dress ourselves, and it would start with a simple idea: automating the stitch. The first person to really draw up a plan for a sewing machine was an Englishman named Thomas Saint. Back in 1790, he patented a design for a machine that could stitch leather. His idea was clever. He imagined an awl that would punch a hole first, and then a forked needle would push the thread through it. It was a chain stitch machine, designed for making things like boots and saddles. But here's the thing, no one is sure if he ever actually built it. His patent drawings were discovered decades later. It was a brilliant concept on paper, but it never got off the ground to change the world in his lifetime. The story then moves to France. A tailor named Barthélemy Timonier was the first to put sewing machines to work on a large scale. In 1830, he patented his machine, which used a hooked needle to create a chain stitch, just like Saint's idea. His machine actually worked. He was so successful that he opened a factory in Paris with 80 of his wooden machines. His job was to make uniforms for the French army. It looked like he was on the verge of success, a real game changer for the clothing industry. He had a government contract and a workshop full of machines, a dream for any inventor. But not everyone was thrilled. A mob of angry tailors saw Timonier's factory as a threat to their jobs. They were terrified that these new machines would make their skills useless and leave them without work. So, they stormed his workshop. They smashed every single one of his machines to pieces, destroying his business and his dream. Timonier barely escaped with his life. It was a brutal reminder that progress isn't always welcomed. People are often afraid of change, especially when it threatens their way of making a living. It's a dirty but common part of innovation. Despite the setback, Timonier didn't give up. He tried again, improving his machine and trying to rebuild his business. But he never regained his initial success. He died a poor man. His story is a tough lesson. He had a working machine and a real business, but he couldn't overcome the fear and anger of those who felt threatened by his invention. He was a man ahead of his time and he paid the price for it. His work, however, proved that a sewing machine was not just a fantasy. It was possible, and others would soon pick up where he left off. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic in America, inventors were tackling the same problem. A man named Walter Hunt invented a machine in the 1830s that was different. It used 2 threads and an eye-pointed needle to create a lock stitch. This was a huge leap forward. The lock stitch was much stronger and more reliable than the chain stitch, which could easily unravel. But Hunt had a change of heart. He worried his invention would put countless seamstresses out of work. He felt guilty about the potential social costs, so he abandoned the project and never even bothered to patent his groundbreaking idea. A few years later, Elias Howe, another American inventor, came up with a similar machine without knowing about Hunt's work. In 1846, he got a patent for a machine that used a lock-stitch mechanism, combining an eye-pointed needle with a shuttle to carry the second thread. It was a solid design, but it was clunky and difficult to sell. Howe struggled to find investors. He took his machine to England hoping for better luck, but ended up broke. When he finally returned to the United States, he found something shocking. Other people were busy making and selling sewing machines that used his patented ideas. This kicked off what became known as the sewing machine wars. Howe sued the manufacturers who were infringing on his patent. One of the biggest offenders was a man named Isaac Singer. Singer wasn't an inventor in the same way. He was a brilliant marketer and a clever engineer. He didn't invent the sewing machine, but he made it much better. He looked at the existing designs and saw they were awkward for home use. Singer's key improvement was a vertical, up-and-down needle and a foot pedal, which left both hands free to guide the fabric. This made the machine practical for everyone. Isaac Singer knew how to sell. He was a showman. He set up flashy showrooms and hired women to demonstrate how easy his machines were to use. He offered the first ever installment payment plans, so families could buy a machine and pay for it over time. While Elias Howe was fighting in court, Singer was building a business empire. Eventually, the court sided with Howe, and Singer had to pay him royalties. But by then, the Singer brand was already on its way to becoming a household name, synonymous with the sewing machine itself. The sewing machine didn't just stay in factories. Thanks to people like Isaac Singer, it moved into the home. For the first time, families could afford a machine that dramatically reduced the time and effort of making and mending clothes. What used to take a woman a full day of hand stitching could now be done in about an hour. This was a revolution in domestic life. It freed up countless hours for women, giving them more time for other tasks, for education, or even for leisure. The constant nagging chore of sewing was suddenly manageable. In the factories, the impact was just as huge. The sewing machine powered the rise of the ready-to-wear clothing industry. Garment factories could now produce clothes on a massive scale, quickly and cheaply. This meant that ordinary people could afford to buy new clothes instead of making everything themselves. Standardized sizes were developed, and fashion trends could spread more quickly than ever before. While factory conditions were often harsh, the sewing machine created thousands of new jobs for workers, especially for women, giving them a new way to earn an income outside the home. The social change was profound. The sewing machine became a symbol of modernity and middle-class comfort. It made life better by making a difficult job easier. For families, it meant better-made clothes and more time together. For workers, it offered new opportunities despite the initial fears of unemployment. The machine didn't eliminate the need for sewing skills, it just changed them. People learned to operate and maintain the machines, becoming more productive than they ever could have been with just a needle and thread. It was a tool of empowerment. Ultimately, the journey of the sewing machine is a story about human ingenuity and persistence. From Thomas Saint's forgotten drawing to Isaac Singer's global brand, it was a long and bumpy road. It was a dirty job, filled with smashed machines, legal battles, and financial ruin. But the result was an invention that stitched its way into the very fabric of society. It changed how we work, how we dress, and how we live. That humble machine, humming away in the corner of a room, did more than just sew clothes. It helped stitch together the modern world.